Hi, Elizabeth. How are you
Hello,
doing?
I'm good.
This is Charla-Gi, and I'm really happy that you're joining me on my first interview podcast.
I'm
So,
grateful that you're giving me this opportunity to be interviewed.
oh, sure. The general look and feel is that it would be very similar to, okay, my dog just yawned, in case if anybody's wondering, but it's very similar to just like having a coffee somewhere if we go to a cafe and chatting in person, but we're doing this virtually, so that's the general look and feel of what we're doing here. So we can talk about anything. Of course, we have one particular topic that we're going to be focusing on. But if you feel like you need to ask questions, or I certainly will, or talk about something and go on a tangent, then of course that's perfectly welcome. Just like two friends having some coffee or something.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so very, very informal. So, can you tell me kind of a brief timeline as to the background of your situation uh, with your husband Jeremiah? Is he back at the parole facility now, or then kind of skip forward to like what is the current status? Any new information since we last spoke?
Okay, so this all started in March. He was sent to a parole facility, and of course, at that time, the coronavirus was spreading, and it was spreading, pretty fast. Well, he had got there, and he hadn't been there too long, and they had an outbreak there. Well, they started sending people home, and they had one of the people that they had sent home. They had put him in that person's room, and he wasn't given cleaning supplies or nothing. Actually, it wasn't just him; it was a few people that were put in that room, and none of them were given cleaning supplies or anything. And so they didn't get to clean it out. Well, a few days later, after they had been living, staying in that room for a while, um, one of the administrators there said that he was going to have to go, my husband and the others were going to have to go into quarantine where the rest of the people were that were actually sick and experiencing coronavirus symptoms because they had put him in that, he and the others in that room, and they were sorry that that's just what they were going to have to do. So, of course, he's mad because he's not sick or nothing, don't have a fever or nothing like that because they had been checking them. Well, so he calls me upset, and so me and I'm pretty sure other people's family were making phone calls, and the next day after raising a fuss, they call me out of the blue and tell me to go get him, and so of course I go get him, and then they tell him that he's gonna have to go back. Um, they just didn't know when.
Okay.
So yeah, they told him he was gonna have to go back. So like I said, he didn't know when. He was supposed to be spending 60 days there. Well, they call him and tell him. By the way, when I say they, I'm speaking about the parole officer.
Okay.
Yeah, the parole officer called him and told him that he would be having a return on a certain day. And so, of course, he returned there. And now they're saying that because people were getting sick and having to leave, and they feel like some people were faking, and, not really sick, just playing on the fact that there were sick people there, that now they're making them all do 90 days instead of 60 days. And any days that they had been there before does not count towards those 90 days, so now they have to start over.
Okay, so he's currently back there, and then
Right,
he'll be released in about 90 days, right? Because all of this just
right.
happened again.
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
yeah, he's been back there for, a few days now. But yes, because before he went back, and before he actually left there, he was actually told that that the time that he did there would count.
Right.
And he was right. I mean, because he was there, you know, he just couldn't help that people were getting sick and he had to be sent home. Well, so he's told that those days would count. Well, then once he leaves and he's still in contact, several parole officers called him. It wasn't just one specific one, but I know at least two. I think there was three that actually that he had. Oh, I'm sorry, there was four. Now that I think about it, four of them, and one of them, because I asked the parole officer if he would have to go back, and her response was she didn't think that he would have to go back, you know. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, he's not gonna have to go back. Well, then they tell him that he is, which is fine because that's what we had originally been told. But they also told him a couple of the ones that called, two out of the four that called, he had asked them, and I know he did because I was right there beside him and I could hear him on the phone. He asked them if those days counted because they had asked him, well, how long were you there? And he told them, and they said, and then he asked them, well, will those days count? And they said, yeah, that they would. Well, then when he gets the call to go back, he's told that he's going to have to do 90 days. And
Okay.
then once he actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had a few questions off the bat.
Okay.
So, is this a similar experience to others, or are you able to compare, or are they just being really harsh on him?
No, it's other people. Because I'm not one to just sit around and take something, especially if that's not how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'll actually, you know, reach out to people and see what I could do to try to find answers. Because I mean, I actually know how the system works in some ways because I don't want to be specific, but I work for the system, and I personally know other people do, and we have other family members that do. So I kind of know a little bit of how some of this is supposed to go, and so I could kind of tell a little bit, maybe more than the normal person, if we're being screwed around, you know.
Right.
And so I'm able to use that to my advantage. So I had told him, you know, to get some information, and you know, we have ways of proving what they say, you know, through just different various ways. But anyways, and so I started telling him to give me names of other people there and give them my number and tell them to have their family member contact me. So I had people that contacted me that are, you know, that they're being done the same way. And the sad thing is, some of them had actually been there. You know, they had done almost half their time.
Wow.
Yeah, and so now they're having to start over and do more time.
Huh. Well, that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you, because you never really know. I mean, with the power of distribution and a podcast, then hopefully somebody listening to us can feel free to reach out to us as well. We can be contacted on the website page, which is, of course, charlagi.wordpress.com. So that's CHARLAGI.wordpress.com. And you can leave a comment and with contact information if you have any way to help this couple that really time is of the essence, because every second that you spend in a facility that is not safe for our new normal, then you're very much, you know, placed at risk. And
Right.
The other thing that I do with this podcast is that we never really met to prep. I don't really have an agenda, and the reason why I have this methodology is because perhaps the listeners will have these very basic questions as well, and then I'm afraid if I go over these basic questions, you know, 10 minutes before we actually record, then I'm going to miss something basic that you know, everybody else should be listening to. So that's why if this sounds very basic, it's because we're really just talking about this, which is not my guest's fault. It's just the way how I like to do things. It's a little bit different, but and I hope that you're okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, you know, because like you said, if you write out a bunch of questions, you might miss over something that's that really need to be let out, that it's, basic and people might not even think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have been a podcaster for a couple of years now, and in digital for a while, and you just never know. If you plant the seeds, you get this message. This actually, it's a cry for help. To be,
Right?
I'm calling it that.
Yeah.
Then
Right.
out there listening for the whole world to listen to this, then please help us because again, this is a new normal, but it's a matter. It can be a matter of life and death, and even if the person is just sick, then and recovers, it's usually not a pleasant situation anyway. So,
Yeah.
um,
It sucks,
mhm.
but yeah.
I feel so bad for you guys. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I mean, we've been dealing with the system for a while, so we always have stuff like this that comes up. You just think that they would take more of a serious, um, you know, thought process on it,
Uh-huh.
considering that, this is affecting, it's killing a lot of people, it's affecting a lot of people, and where he's at, they have several cases, and it's not going to get any better. I mean, because you know, they're supposed to be allowing them to leave and get jobs. They won't let them work. They're supposed to be doing a program, like doing group, I guess like therapy type classes where they're not really doing that,
Mm-hmm.
not to how they're supposed to be. But then the staff is still going in and out, and it's not like they're in prison or they're in jail to where they can't leave. So
Okay.
I mean, I could understand if he was, still in prison or in jail or something like that. It's not that he can't leave. He don't have nowhere. It's not like you don't have nowhere to go, and I don't understand that, because it's safer for each of them people that have family or someone to go home and stay home if they can, because they're coming in contact with less people versus if they're staying in there, there's people coming in and out. When it just doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Um,
You know,
does he have the option to? So what? Okay. So what would be the minimum amount of time that he has to stay in there? Is it 2 hours of the 24 hours? Like what is it, and how do they count that?
what do you mean, like staying there? Like, what do you mean by staying there?
When you said that he doesn't have to be there, that it's not like jail, then
Oh,
where
okay.
else can he go,
Oh,
and
okay,
for how
okay.
long?
So a parole facility, okay, how it works is people that are in, it's what I guess I should call it, a probation and parole facility. It's kind of like a halfway house,
Okay.
but that's what I thought it was. But I was told by somebody that actually works there that it's different than a halfway house.
Okay. Okay.
How it works is I'm sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
So how it works is, okay, for my husband's case, for example, okay, instead of letting him go straight home from prison, they made him go to a parole facility because they feel like he needs group therapy and all this other kind of stuff.
Okay.
So they make him stay there, and what it is, it's like I said, it's kind of like a halfway house. They actually live there, but what it does is they have rules and stuff that they have to go by, and they have roommates and everything. But they're trying to get them. It's kind of like a mix between prison in the free world. Well, out here, sorry, free world is a prison time. But so it's like prison, a mix between prison and living a normal life. Because even though they have rules to follow and they have to be counted and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
they also get to leave and get a job, and if they can, they can have a vehicle, stuff like that. Whereas in prison or jail, you can't do that. So it's kind of like a mix between. And so when I say he has to stay there, I mean they're not letting him go out and get a job.
Okay.
They're not. They're supposed to be taking classes, like group classes. They're not. Their group classes is sometimes the counselor's there, sometimes they're not. It's 10 of the people there, 10 of the other parolees or people that are on probation that are within a group, and they just go outside and they just sit around and talk. Well, that's not therapy. That's not how normal therapy works.
No.
And they're not they're not doing that as much as they're supposed to be doing. I'm trying to think of everything that they're not doing they're supposed to be. they are supposed to be providing him with, he's supposed to be able to go to church. Well, he can't do that. They ain't letting him leave for that. He's supposed to be able to get visits as long as he stays out of trouble. Like, like I should be able to go up there and stay with him for a few hours a day. Won't let that happen. And they won't let him come home on the weekends, which is something that they normally do. They did before all this virus outbreak. So I don't understand, because they say that they're rehabilitation. That's what they're trying to do. They told him that the other day, they told him that when he argued with them, they said, well, you have to go back because you need treatment, blah, 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 blah. Well, he's not getting treatment like he's supposed to be. He's not getting those therapy sessions. He's not getting out and getting a job. They're supposed to be teaching them how to, or the ones that don't know, how to save money, how to do this, how to do that. Well, they're not doing any of that. Wow. They're basically kind of keeping him, so it's kind of like he's in prison again.
I was going to say, it's more like more of a jail and less of a halfway house.
Right, yeah, because he's not able to do that. So, which I can understand them not wanting him to get out. But the part that I don't understand is they say he's there for treatment, but they're not giving him the treatment they're supposed to be giving him. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand. Like he said, like his argument was, well, if you let me out and I was able to, reintegrate, because that's another thing, reintegrate them into society. He said, well, I was already been here for over a month, and I've already been reintegrated to society. And so I'm not understanding why I can't just stay out here with my family where I'm safer, and I'm doing more than I was able to do when I was in there. We weren't taking classes, we weren't doing anything but just sitting around.
Right.
And so, I mean, and then they tell them that the time that they was there don't count. So, I mean, it's a bunch of crap.
Right. It's just amazing how everything has just changed so quickly with this virus. But I was also a professor a couple of years ago, and I can tell you, if I did not show up for class, then essentially there was no class. It wasn't like, oh, the students can just, create their own website on their own. I mean, similar to what you're saying, if the counselor is not there, then it's not a counseling session. It's just, anything else but the therapy that they need.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the state is, I'm sorry, I don't know if I would say the state in a sense, but I guess the prison system, is, in a sense, stealing from the state, because they're getting paid to provide these, the stuff to the people that are there, and they're not doing it. Mm-hmm. So they're pretty much getting paid for these people to just sit around when they could be out actually doing stuff. Because my husband was going to start online classes. Uh-huh. He's already started. He had already started doing a bunch of other stuff. And like he argued with them, well, you're just ripping away something I've already started. When I'm just gonna go in there and just sit around. I'm not gonna get the treatment because they're not allowing us to leave. They're not allowing us. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So that I feel like they're just stealing. I mean, to be honest,
right?
Just taking money for something, because they're supposed to be providing services and getting paid for those services, but they're getting paid, but they ain't providing all the services.
Okay. And then how did it go to 90 days? Is that written down somewhere that could be a maximum? Because I'm just afraid that they're going to say, oh, well, you have to start over again, and now it's going to be another 90 days. I mean, that's not possible, right? Like 90 days and he's out. Is that right?
Well, that's what it's supposed to be, but I have learned working with the prison system. Now, can I say what system it is? Is that okay for me to say?
No.
You don't want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the system, I know of two prison systems in two different states.
Okay.
I kind of know one better than the other. Okay, the one that I know the most, that I've dealt with the most, they do whatever they want to do. They'll twist stuff, and see the way they word a lot of things, it's like, they can say it this way to where it's open to interpretation, just like some of the rules they have there is, not being negative or something that's open to interpretation. What's negative in me might not be negative. So it's just like, how are you going to punish somebody on something that's open to interpretation? I mean, they have and then they at the bottom of all these rules, it says on the paper, it's pretty much saying that if a specific rule isn't on here, then you will be punished accordingly. So you're making that step, make up their own rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's just, they say that it's, in the paperwork it says it's the 90 days. But the problem I have is they told him 60 days when he first got there. And that the time that he would be doing, the time that he already done, counts for 60 days.
Right, and that's already changed. Yeah.
Right. So it's essentially, if you really want to look at it, they're making him do more than 90 days. Because he's already been there for days.
Okay, yeah, so that's already the change. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, so it's more than 90 days.
I'm just thinking out loud, but it seems very, very harsh to put, I mean, this poor guy, he just wants to go home, to his wife and to his family and to start his life. And he has already had to, jump through hoops to this day, and then on top of from what has already happened, only to start over again is just so defeating and demoralizing.
Yeah.
I mean, just the scare of the coronavirus, and then that let's move out, and then I did have one big question though about moving out and then moving back in. If it's the same facility, like, what has changed? Does everybody have hand sanitizing lotion? I mean, do they clean on a regular basis? And if nothing has changed from a personal protection standpoint against the virus, then they're just going to create this problem all over again, and it's going to be this vicious cycle of, oh, outbreak, oh, potential outbreak, oh, everybody move out, oh, and it's just this, horrible, tragic Russian novel that you're just rereading over and over again.
Well, as far as I know, this is what they're doing. Okay, so when every day they take him and everybody else's temperature. They make them wear a mask at all times.
Okay, so this is new.
Well, no, not really, because before he left, they were doing, before they left, they were doing the temperature. Okay, and like the day before he left, they gave him a mask. Well, it wasn't a mask. They called it a mask. I mean, it wasn't nothing.
Right. I think
clothing.
I know what you mean. There's like little paper mache things that just like float away in the wind.
Yeah, it's useless.
Yeah.
So, they gave him that to wear. Well, now, since he went back, they've started doing, like I said, I think he said every morning when they go, before they go to eat. Okay, and then they're making them wear like the surgical mask. You can see like a nurse or doctor, they make them wear that at all times.
Okay.
And then as far as cleaning and stuff, yeah, they have to do that.
Okay.
And they want them to stay as much as they can 6 feet apart. And instead of doing bigger groups, they're making them groups smaller.
Okay.
But like he said, that may be helpful some things, but they're sleeping. I mean, they're sleeping on bunk beds. So, I mean,
right.
Mm-hmm. And so that's some of the stuff that they're doing. Like I said, they're pretty much not letting them go anywhere. Although I know that they said that they had to go out because they had to let them go get hybrids or they had to let them do that. So they wouldn't let them do that.
Okay.
And they're not letting any visitors in. Like I said, they're not letting them leave. They're not letting them get their weekend passes like they were while it started. So they are limiting the traffic, which I do appreciate that. But at the same time, like I said, it's safer if they have a family to let them go home.
Of
Because
course.
he's not doing nothing in there anyway, sitting around.
And did you say you're not able to visit him?
No, I'm not. I'm not able to visit him.
Oh,
As of right now, we're not able to visit. They cut that out. They've cut out, like I said, after being there so long, to go home on weekends. They stopped that. Um, I'm trying to think there was something else I'm going to say.
well, that's really hard on you as well. I mean, and the whole family. I
Yeah,
mean, to be
it
apart
is.
from your husband for 90 days in this kind of a situation, it has to be extremely stressful.
Yeah, well, it is, but they've stopped it statewide, and I know a lot of other states have stopped visitation too.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's anybody that's got a family member in this state locked up in prison. I'm guessing jail too, but I know for a fact prison are not able to go visit them. They're still releasing them, but as far as like you they'll ever go and visit them, not happening.
Okay.
I know as far as and then the other issue I had this was okay, so I said I worked for the system. Where I worked, they're doing the same thing. They're testing our temperature, making us take tests. I've already taken 2 tests. I got the first bunch of that back, I would think, but I'm still waiting on the other ones back. But that's what they're doing. Okay.
Okay.
He told me where I work at, they actually had an outbreak there of several people, staff, and clients or whatever.
The inmates. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the inmates. Um, so it's been, like I said, for both inmates and officers. He told the parole officer that she said pretty much said she didn't care. Well, she didn't. Her word was, "I don't care." She just said we still have to show up. So, God forbid, I had it.
Right.
He's been in the house with me. He goes back. How many people did he just give it to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, it's, and I told him, or he told him, sorry, that, and it didn't seem to phase him. I guess they thought he was lying. I mean, I don't know why. It's not like they could verify that, but, and so it's just, I mean, I just don't understand how they're doing stuff. It don't make sense to me.
Yeah. This is actually really pertinent to what I have been trying to keep up with in the news. I'm an essential worker. I've been leaving the house for 40 hours a week, keeping my job pretty much the same, except for all the changes with the new normal. So of course I'm on the news all the time, just trying to get any type of information to keep myself safe. And one of the things that just came out recently in the past couple of days on the international news is that Abbott Laboratories, which is they're making the tests that even the president uses. Well, NYU released a study that is currently being examined by the FDA that test can be have a percent error of 50%, 50. So, I mean, it's almost a waste of time to take a test with something like that. That's just completely ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and see, because I know that back in around Christmas time of this past year, I had a virus. Couldn't keep nothing down. My energy was drained. I mean, I could barely walk. It was bad. Well, they tested me for the regular flu, and of course, it came back negative. And the lady told me, she said, "Well, that don't mean nothing because 50% of the flu tests are not accurate. It only has like a 50%
Right.
50% of the time it works pretty much." And so, of course, I didn't know that till then. And then one of my coworkers had said that they had been told that cause they were making us, they were trying to make us do the swab up the nose test where they put that Q-tip way up in your nose. Well, I hadn't heard about too many people that's very painful. So I went doing that. So I went to the spit test. And he said that he was told that the spit test is only like 40% accurate.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering, and then the other day they made us do, like I said, the cheek and the cheek in the mouth. I guess it's some kind of new thing they said in April. So I'm just wondering how many, or how accurate these tests are, because the way I see it is people are still getting it, and the issue is you can have it for a while and not even know it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you can pass it along to how many people, and then they say when they get sick, I just won't get sick. Everything, oh my gosh, I have a problem. And so you don't get tested, and it makes mistakes because it's not your system giving it this actually.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, could you please repeat that? You were just kind of fading in and out. So
Oh,
we
sorry.
heard, that's okay. We heard after, you can be a silent carrier is what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had heard from a doctor on on Facebook. He was doing like a press conference, and he said that if you have any symptoms and they just started, don't go around and get tested, because the likelihood of you being negative is very likely, because it has to get in your system good before you even test positive.
Okay.
So if you're one of these people that, I guess people are freaking out thinking they have it, if they have any symptoms and they go get tested and they come back negative, they think, well, good, I don't got it. And then it turns out, they didn't stay at home because they didn't think they had it. They were going out doing whatever, and they done passed it to however many people, because then they really do end up getting sick, and then they find out they have it. That's what happened. My husband was telling me that that's what happened to the lady that's in on the news that had came from China. She got tested, she felt fine, and then she was negative, and then a few days later she started feeling bad, and she got tested again, and she got it.
Well, that's not her fault at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not blaming her, but I'm just saying, just because you test negative don't mean you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Either if, like you said, if the test ain't accurate, or it can be strong in your system.
Yeah, and I mean,
So,
just between you and me and everybody listening, I have a problem with the symptoms. It is, I mean, in any particular day, you can have any of those symptoms.
exactly.
I have a headache. Oh, I have a runny nose. Oh, I have a sore throat. Oh, I feel nauseous. It's like
Right.
every possible common thing that could happen to you. Oh, you might have coronavirus. Give me a break. And then the worst part about it is that I was following this famous virus hunter on NBC, and he would go out with Lester Holt on the subway in New York. Oh, make sure you have a paper towel, before you hang on to the handrails and things like that. Oh, it's safe to go outside, and he was trying to explain how to keep safe. So okay, that's maybe one voice of reason. He was on there a couple of times. He has coronavirus, and I hope you're sitting down. But drum roll, please. They tested him 4 times and it came back negative. But he's the famous virus hunter. Like, he knows he has it. I mean, it is just total chaos. It's total chaos out there.
Yeah, it is.
It's just
And
so
it's only
frustrating.
yours.
I mean, I
It
can't even
is.
imagine having a loved one in danger like this. I mean, how are you holding up? What are you doing now to, obviously, besides this podcast, I'm sure you're rallying support to get him out.
I'm complaining. I'm contacting whoever I can. Um, he's trying to figure out stuff in there, him and the other people. They're making complaints,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just trying to do whatever I can, because I know that, because a lot of people look at it like this, well, he shouldn't have did what he did to get to, well, he shouldn't have. He deserved to be punished. He did wrong. And he knows that, but at the same time, he wasn't, he didn't, when he signed for a plea deal, he didn't sign to go to a place where he could potentially end up dead from a deadly virus.
Right.
And so, it's just frustrating. And it's like, the system, as bad as I'm talking about the system, I know that some people are actually trying, I know that they are trying to do the best they can, but at the same time, like you said, with this virus is unpredictable. You could have it for days and not even know it,
Mm-hmm.
or you can have it and never have the symptoms. I know people that I've been told by people that actually tested positive for it that they have it and they feel fine.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. I mean, nothing's wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they feel okay. They don't feel any different than they normally do. Okay, so that makes me wonder how long that they had it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Nobody
And so,
knows, and nobody
I mean,
knows.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows, and so it's just, it's a matter of, they need to try to do whatever they can to protect people, and then it just getting somebody and putting them in a situation where they could affect people, or, people could be infecting them and spreading like wildfire when it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. No.
It's just stupid. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I personally feel like it's just a money thing, which a lot of things are.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only thing that makes legitimate sense when you argue that with him. Because my husband actually told him that he died and it was a money thing. They always say, well, no, you needed treatment, but they're, like I said, they're again, they say that, but you're not getting it.
Well, I think that makes
So,
sense because then you have like the Paul Manaforts, you have others that are being released. So they have to make up that money somehow. And then unfortunately, it's just the luck of the draw that they're extending, I guess, to make up for the deficit from their budgets. But they didn't factor in deadly pandemic. So,
yeah.
I mean, they're getting hundreds of people are being released, but then other people, which is so great that we're making this podcast. I don't think I don't think your story is as well known, that they're really paying for it, and I believe it's cruel and unusual punishment because first of all, to be released and then to come out and say you're going to have to come back, but we don't know when. So your life is just on hold in this kind of a situation. I mean, any kind of stress, I'm only speaking for myself here, is can be magnified because it's already stressful just to walk out the door, in a global pandemic. So, I mean, this is just completely cruel and unusual punishment. And I think starting from zero and not counting the time served is that's the tipping point. I mean, that is just so cruel to the I don't want to say prisoner, but reformed prisoner, I guess, and then to the family and friends and loved ones. It's just completely unnecessary.
It is. And see, the way that this is how they're getting away with what they're doing to him and then the people that are in there specifically. Because the program, like I said, is supposed to last 60 to 90 days. Well, 60 days is for the people that have never been there before.
Okay.
The 90 days is for people that have went through the program before, got out, relapsed, and got in trouble and went sent back. They're supposed to be doing the 90 days. So what they're doing is, this is how they're getting away with it. Because they're telling him and everybody else that in the system, it shows that they were already there. They
Right.
got taken out of the system and got put back in the system, so the system is saying that they need to do 90 days. But, like my husband said, well, that's not my fault because I didn't tell you that I was sick. And he never said he was sick.
No.
He was just mad
Yeah.
because they put him in a room with people that were potentially sick and were having symptoms.
Well, anybody would say something in that kind of situation, yeah.
Right. So that's what, he never once claimed that he was sick or feeling bad or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he came home, they called him and he said, "No, I feel fine," because they were asking that. Mm-hmm. He said, "No, I feel okay, nothing wrong, nothing's wrong."
Mm-hmm.
But, anyways, so that's why they're getting away with making them do 90 days, is because they say that the system is showing that they have to do 90 days because they got put in the system and then taken out and then got put back in there. Which normally, when that happens, it would be because somebody finished the program,
Mm-hmm.
left, messed up, and got sent back.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to fix that system, and I just think that's an excuse because the people, they're the ones typing in the information to the system.
Right.
So I know for a fact it's not that hard to fix that.
Right.
So
No,
they're
it's
just
not.
being buttheads, it comes down to it. And like I said, they're just trying to get their money back because they lost money. They wasn't getting, because the place shut down and was getting cleaned out, so they said, and nobody was there.
Mm-hmm.
So they wasn't getting money for that.
That's horrible.
So
Well,
now they're trying to make up for it.
jeez. Well, I'm so glad that we're talking because everything is just happening so quickly. I was in my car just taking a phone break at work today, and then on the radio, there was somebody being interviewed. Uh, that was in a, what I heard was he was in a New York Times article and something about a detention facility, and the interviewer was asking if they had just basic sanitation, were they able to wash their hands and things of that nature. And this apparently this whistleblower, it's an ICE detention facility, so this illegal immigrant was giving up his identity as a whistleblower, and obviously everybody knows, and everybody knows now. And then he's about to go up to a judge to be heard, or possibly deported. And the reporter asked him, you're aware that you kind of gave yourself up, but the person that was being interviewed, the illegal immigrant, said, "I believe that this story is important enough to face any consequences." And I just before our interview now, Elizabeth, I happened to find an article in the New York Times about it. I don't know if it's the article, but I'm going to send it to you right after this call. And it was just published yesterday, and it's called "Everybody Was Sick Inside an ICE Detention Center." And if you didn't, I mean, you might as well read it. You're practically quoting what is in the article. So on top of that, uh, there are a few things that I learned that you can do, or that actually had been done. Um, a group of physicians wrote a letter saying how the conditions were so deplorable in the ICE detention facility, um, and that helped to release about half of the inmates in the 4 ICE detention facilities in New Jersey. But that isn't enough because, half of them are still there. And then there's also something called the nonprofit Government Accountability Project. I'm quoting the article, recently estimated that almost all of those held in ICE facilities could be infected by the 90th day of a COVID outbreak. And we're already past that, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and send this to you. I mean, I think maybe a letter from a physician or a team of physicians. I'm just brainstorming here for you guys. But hopefully this article will help you. It may be like different plans of attack, but I'm completely in your corner. I think what's happening is absolutely outrageous and horrible and self-serving. Because if there really is a money trail, then that is not justification to do what they're doing right now. So.
Nope. Yeah, I appreciate that because I know that we cannot be the only ones. I mean, it's like I said, it's getting bad, and they don't want. And the other thing is, the system, at least here in my state, is not reporting all the cases they actually have, because I know for a fact, because you can go online, you can look at the cases that are at certain prisons. I know for a fact where I work, because I've had to work around the ones that are the inmates that are sick. I know for a fact that website is not right.
Okay. Wow.
Because there have been at least, I would say at least 20 cases. And of course, they don't say that.
Well, are they off by, again, 50%, or is it like how off are they?
I mean, they're not off by because I think the website says like 12 pages or something like that. I don't remember.
Oh, so it's more than 50%. Okay.
Yeah, but I know that because I don't work with these around these inmates that are sick,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that right now, well, as of yesterday, they had, let's see, 11 cases
Okay.
active as of right now.
Well, and it's
And,
fluid because, some recover, some get it, so, yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but those same ones that are now sick with it are not part of that. They can't be part of that 12 or however many that numbers they have, because there was a lot more than that that been sick.
Right.
I mean, once it got, where I work is one of the places it got to first,
Wow.
and so, and now it's in a lot of the units, and so, um, you know, so I know those numbers ain't right, because it keeps that. We just had, within the last 4 days, we just had 2 more cases there.
Right. It's just so fluid. It's just so crazy.
Yeah. And I know a couple of weeks ago, there was about 12 cases. So I know, and those 12 ain't part of the 11 that they have now.
Okay.
It ain't the same ones. So that's how I know that that those numbers are off. And I was told by somebody that would know that they ain't reporting all the numbers.
Well, once
I was
again,
told by more than that. Like, I was told by 2 different people that would know that they ain't reporting the numbers right.
right. I mean, let's just,
look as bad.
yeah, let's just start from 0 every day. I mean, come on.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
horrible. I'm
crazy.
so sorry. I mean, I just had no idea, but I'm so glad that we're getting this story out there, and uh, I'm going to send this article to you right now. And I definitely would like to invite you back on the program and just kind of keep tabs as to any updates on what's going on. Is that okay?
Yes, like I said, I don't mind. I know my husband said, I told him that I was doing this, and he said he'll try to get as much information to me as he can, so I could tell, more about what's going on there. But like I said, I know this can't be, where he's at cannot be the only facility facility that's going through that. It has to be more. I mean, it has to be.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't know, this ain't going to it's going to get worse before it gets better, and I just hope that more people ain't going to have to die for no reason because of it.
Right. So time is of the essence. Listeners, if you have any suggestions and I mean, I am certainly not a healthcare professional. If you just have any suggestions at all, you do not have to be a doctor, then please send in. It can also be anonymous, obviously, your comments to the website, Charla-Gi, CHARLAGI.wordpress.com. I said Charlie because that's the name of my dog who's sitting there yawning and everything, if you were wondering what those noises were. So, no, but thank you so much for your time. I promise that I'm going to work with you. We're going to get this published today or, as soon as you approve it, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, that sounds good. I thank you for giving me this chance.
No.
Like I said, it's something that needs to be heard, because I don't think the normal person would know, and I don't think a lot of them might say don't care, but how can you care about something you don't know about?
Well, I'm in a situation of mild shock because I care, but I did not know it was so bad. I just did not know. So
yeah, people don't know unless you got to deal with it. You won't know, and you can't fault people for that.
right, right. Yeah. All right. So we'll continue to work together, and we'll talk soon on the Charla-Gi interview podcast. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.